to how the Group H table looks after 2 matches played for Japan and Senegal. They have an identical record, as you can see, both on 4 points. Poland and Colombia play a little bit later on, but the group very much alive, and of course Japan and Senegal probably for the moment remain favourites to advance, but a lot will hinge on our match later. But Brian concluded there, Kevin, that 2-2, probably a fair result. Would you agree?
Yeah, I thought, first half Senegal shaded, but Japan came really into it in the second half. I think they played the better stuff in the second half. Their goalkeepers on both teams gifted 2 simple goals. Kawashima in the first half for Mane, fisted it into him from a yard out, and then Day came out for the cross in the second half. 2 teams who can't afford any mistakes going on in the tournament. If they're to go anywhere in the tournament, everyone needs to be at their game, doing everything 100%. They can't afford silly errors like that. Things like that will knock them out, and if they do get through to the next round. Yeah,
Senegal probably had the better of the first half, Stephanie, but they seem to take the foot off the gas a little bit in that second half. So, I mean, for African nations who are aspiring to go beyond a quarter-final of a World Cup, which they've never done, that's not a good sign from a Senegal point of view, is it?
Yeah, I think maybe they kind of settled for the draw over Japan. Maybe Japan went for it a little bit, especially when they got their second goal. They kind of got that little burst of energy. I think when they scored, when Senegal scored the goal, they obviously brought on Honda and Okazaki, who are both experienced players who scored goals for Japan in the past, so they had those players on the pitch at the time, and then they got the second goal, so they kept on going for it, and they probably were the better team in the second half. But I do think overall it was probably a fair result.
Yeah, so 2-2. Didi, were you disappointed really with the Senegalese approach to that second half?
Not really, because they had to score early in that first half, really, when they were on top. But for the possession, for the being superior in physicality, they didn't really threaten enough. And you've got to give credit to Japan, because in set pieces they were very rarely threatened by that Senegalese power and height when the centre backs came up. So no, I wasn't disappointed. 2 completely different style of teams and play, and I think Senegal, I think they're very awkward to play. I wouldn't fancy them if they were to go to the last 16, which I still expect them to do. I wouldn't like to play them, but I think you've got to give Japan huge credit, because they've been behind twice, came back twice, and they're just very tenacious, gritty, and they're all good footballers. Sometimes I think they're a bit too honest. There was one incident.
You mean they don't have like a cynical side to their game?
No, they haven't. And there was one incident where the Senegalese player holds on to the Japanese player, and I think in the end he got booked because he had to pull him down. But he was the one really who was fouled. I think it was Niang in the first half. So I think sometimes I just wish they were a bit more streetwise. But you've got to say, after going behind twice, they came back, were the better side in the second half. And the second Senegalese goal was really against the run of play, because at that time you felt, if there's a second goal or a winner in that game, it'll be Japan.
OK, but 2-2, it finished in Ekaterinburg this afternoon, and so both nations still very much involved in the World Cup. Well, neither country was pitch perfect today in Ekaterinburg, but it was Sadio Mane who put the Lions of Teranga in front after 11 minutes. Then a wonderful finish from Takashi Inui got Japan back into it. The Lions roared in front once again. 71 minutes when Senegal got their second goal, Wage the scorer. But Japan showed they had fight and they had bottle, and they had a wonderful substitute in the form of Keisuke Honda, who got them a point in Ekaterinburg. So a fair result. I think that's the conclusion of the panel. And Kevin, we're going to have a closer look at that second goal from Wage. Getting Senegal back in front again, and we thought possibly they were going to take control, but they didn't after this.
Yeah, Wagyu getting so far forward for a fullback. The same in the first half with Nagamoto for Japan was influential in their first goal. But here, Mane finds Sabali, the other fullback, who pulls it back for his mate. And Wagyu, for 2 fullbacks to be that far forward, basically on the end line here, and it's hard to deal with that for Japan. To deal with 2 fullbacks getting that far forward. You just show Senegal were trying to win the game. When you're pushing your fullbacks that far forward, he does very well. Good strength, good turn, and he doesn't pick him out. He just drives across goal, gets a lucky touch. But the finish is still good. It's cool as calm for a fullback just to slot it home. Nice strike. Top net keeper has no chance. you think at that stage Senegal were just going to power ahead and take control of the game, but it wasn't be the case.
No, and it only took Japan 7 minutes to get back into it, Stephanie. And we mentioned some of the possible substitutions that the manager might make, and Keisuke Honda was always going to be an option for him. He's been so reliable in terms of goal scoring at the World Cup. He scored in 3 consecutive World Cups now, which he's the first Japanese player to do so. But this was a lovely finish from him.
Yeah, I think he's a player you want to bring on off the bench. It's again a mistake from the keeper. I think it's a rash decision to even come for it. I think his defender probably has on his head. He can clear it for him. He comes, it's a bad decision, and even after that he's very slow to get back in, and just a bad all-round display from the goalkeeper. But you have to give credit to Honda. I think it's a good finish as well. If you look, there's players on the line, he has to pick his spot and he has to keep it down. You can't see players at times get a rush of blood to the head and maybe blast it over the bar. So he's done well. It's a great finish, and I think he's just showed his experience with himself coming on with Okazaki, who he said at half-time. I think they brought that little bit of experience and probably maybe could have went and tried to get another one, but it's a good finish and a great goal and got them back into the game.
Yeah, the right man in the right place at the right time, and a very valuable substitution he proved to be. Diddy, you said they shaded they dominated really in terms of chances that second half. So will they be a little bit frustrated that they haven't taken the 3 points, do you think?
I don't think they'll be frustrated, but I think they'll be frustrated at the fact that they conceded when this was the best spell in the game, the first 20-25 minutes of the second half, where they really dominated the game, where they created a couple of really good opportunities, and where they asked that the Senegal team questions. And this is a bad pass given away, and this is the best chance. Inouye here, I think he's got to take his other foot. He's going with the right foot. I think he should have gone with his left. And here they kept the balls alive. They were alert to the second ball. And I think at that time they really felt, if we keep getting at them, we can win the game. Disappointing ball here. Here again, it's just a long ball. Forward is alert again. And this is just great play. This was just before they conceded that the second goal. Bent from Inouye into the far corner, unfortunately hits the crossbar, but I don't think they'll be disappointed. They take a point. If you offer them 4 points before the start of the tournament after 2 games, I think they certainly would have taken it. Yeah. It's in their hands to go through, and fair result against a very physical team, but the way they stood up to them, I was very impressed with them.
Yeah, and so Japan finish against Poland. I know a lot will hinge on how the Poland and Colombia game goes this evening, but do you think that's the easier of the 2 finishes? Senegal will play Colombia?
Well, if Colombia win tonight, then Poland is out of the tournament, and then you play against a team that's got nothing to play for. Sometimes it can make them more dangerous, rather than when they've got pressure on their last game. It's a fantastic and a very interesting setup, because if the second game finishes in a draw, it's all to play for. All teams can win the group. Every team can go out of the competition. And we felt that it's probably the most even group out all 8 groups. And the way it looks at the moment, it turns out this way. But the way they played in the first 2 games, I think they fancy a chance against Poland, regardless of the result tonight, because I think they showed enough in these 2 games, even though they played with a man up in the first game, that they give most teams in the competition a game.
Yeah, and that Poland-Colombia match is coming up a little bit later on, and as Diddy said, whichever side, or if either side loses that game, well, they're out of the World Cup, so there's a huge amount riding on that one. Kevin, you were doing a piece of analysis the other day. It was in relation to strikers, and you said it was a great example for young people who were looking in. Now, we're going to have a look back at the goals from the first half, and I think there's a great example for young goalkeepers coming up of what not to do when a ball comes in low towards the goal. I mean, you don't do this, you don't try and punch it away.
Yeah, I don't think they have to look at this. It's pretty, self-explanatory. But, we spoke about the 2 goalkeepers making calamitous errors tonight, and these 2 teams need everyone, as I said, 100%. Mane is not going to get an easier goal. I would have loved that. I never managed to get one of those as a striker. I mustn't have been poaching enough. You can't ask for a simpler goal. You can't. He hits it off, he goes in. He'll be devastated, because he's an experienced keeper. He's got 85 caps, plays for Metz, and I'm sure that's a one-off. This one, Inouye opens up, plays into the corner. As I said, it was a great ball out to Nagatomo, who does so well from the full-back position. His touch is a little lucky, but he still keeps hold of it, and Inouye, the finish is classy. The keeper can't really see it till it's too late, but he opens up his body and places it into the corner. He doesn't lash at it, he's calm, and it's you know, they deserve that at that stage.
Usually you fist the ball when there's a lot of pace on the ball and you're not confident catching it. There was an awful lot of pace on the ball, and then you never really punch it into a crowded area. There's 5 or 6 bodies in front of him. Touch unfortunate that it hits Manny and goes in, but it certainly wasn't a ball that should have been tried to fist away.
Wrong option, and he probably won't do it again, that's for sure. Steffi, a lot of credit went to Cisse because of the way Senegal played in the first game, that 2-1 victory. How do you think this one will be judged now after this afternoon?
I think, we said it already, I think the first half they played really well. They started well, had good intensity to the game, but Japan, in fairness to them, came back into it. But I think we spoke at half-time about both teams would probably be happy with the draw, and maybe when they went back in at half-time, Cisse maybe put that in their players' mind a little bit more than the Japanese had it in their mind going into, because they seemed to go for it a little bit more. But I do think that they lost a little bit of concentration, and they allowed the Japanese to get into it and maybe take over the game, because they did start it quite well. But I think he's done quite well. I don't think they'll be disappointed. You said before, 4 points out of 2 games. It's not a bad tally to take away from the first 2 games. So he's done well overall, and I think they'll be doing well going into the 3rd game.
Yeah, yes. Did he?
Moving forward, I think with the Senegal team, I think we were both impressed in the first game. I think today they played well for large parts of the game. We've seen how important set pieces are, because it becomes harder and harder to score goals from open play. Now, if you've got Sané, I think he must have scored near enough double figures in the German league this year for a struggling side. You've got Koulibaly, if you've got Niang and Doi who came on, if you've got these calibre of players in your team, you've got to use your set pieces better. They had a number of set pieces, and I can't think of one where they really threatened. The first goal was a mistake, as we pointed out. The second one, they get a bit of fortune with a deflection, which falls for the right back. I think they have to do better with their set pieces. They defend them well, but I think moving forward, if you want to win games, if you want to beat a Brazil, a Germany, whoever comes in your way, you must not make mistakes, and at the same time, the few chances you get, you've got to take. And that's the only thing that disappointed me today, the lack of quality, lack of intensity, and really how harmless they were with their own set pieces against the team. They dominated physically by a long way.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, you often wonder about the preparation that all the different nations go through in the build-up to the World Cup, and possibly in the past, when the African nations were a little bit more inexperienced, you'd have felt, well, maybe the preparation isn't as good. They're not ready for every single situation the World Cup can throw at them. But the fact that most of the big African nations now have had a lot of very experienced European coaches, surely at this stage that they're prepared for every eventuality.
Yeah, you know, they would be. They'd have been practicing set pieces for weeks and weeks now. In this case, there's nothing special about the set pieces against this. The Japan coach spoke about it. You know, he said they're a foot taller than us. I wish we could grow. They don't have to whip a ball in. If it's a corner kick or free kick, you just have to hang a ball in the air and attack it. You know, you have such a height advantage, and they didn't seem to do that. They tried to do the perfect set piece, what they've been practicing, I suppose, in the weeks leading up to it, you know, in thinking we have to hit a certain man or a certain area, instead of just going, you know what, we'll throw this into the box and we've got the height advantage, someone will win it. So, you know, in that sense, they did look prepared in their set pieces, but not taking into account that we're playing Japan.
Just keep in mind, I suppose, and it's a discussion point that will probably come up a little bit later on as well, that the winner of this group plays the runner-up in England's group, and vice versa. So, for instance, if Senegal got out of the group and were to face England or Belgium, how do we think they do, Didi?
I think they got a chance. I've got to say, I was very impressed with England in the first game. And again today, where they put 6 past probably very or below average Panama side. England at the moment is not a team I'd like to face, but then again, you know, this physical presence, because it could click, as Kevin said, with these players. You've seen it in the Champions League final. When did Liverpool score? Floated ball into the box, which is very hard to defend. And if they change it, because this team, potentially, they can score 2 or 3 in one game, offset pieces, if it works, if they hit the right areas, if they get free. You know, if England were to play them, I'd still fancy England. But as I said, that team won't go down without a fight. Down to their physical presence and their never say die attitude. Yeah,
I suppose the same question, just in relation to Japan, if they come out of the group and they face Belgium or England. Stephanie, how do you think they'd do?
I think they give them a good challenge. I think I have to agree with Edie. I think England have been very good and impressive. Yeah. Particularly, I think going into the tournament, they probably haven't had as much pressure as they have in previous tournaments, which I think it goes down to Gareth Southgate. He's really tried to take the pressure off the team, and I think Japan have got something that maybe that energy and I suppose get in amongst it and just try to annoy them more than they can get the win. But I think it'll be an interesting game between either Belgium and Japan or England and Japan, so it'll be interesting to see who goes through.
Yeah, there certainly could be some mouth-watering ties ahead, but of course the group stage is not decided just yet.